Live from the BDN Studios, it's Bang and Dang.
That's awesome.
If you don't like that, then
You ain't black.
All right, welcome back to Outlaws Gunslingers Serial Killer Edition. Yep, that means it's the end of the month, and we're going into the second month of the new year on Bang Dang Network. Things are looking good for us. Serial killers starting out the year hot with fresh over 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, thousands of subscribers on old Spotify and all that other Apple stuff. We're getting it big. Unfortunately for YouTube, these serial killer episodes don't do too well, but thank you for the podcast, guys, for listening to them. Because
what is up with the YouTubians?
they don't like talking about serial killing on YouTube, apparently. Only if you're like a huge channel that does it, apparently.
All right.
Yep. Today we're taking a look at, we're going all the way back to the early 20s.
Oh.
For some considers he's the first known serial sex murderer of the 20th century.
Sex murderer?
Sex murderer. Did it for sex reasons.
Oh, wow.
Earle Nelson. He's known as the Gorilla Man, the Gorilla Killer, and the Dark Strangler. Earle Nelson, born Earle Leonard Farrell on May 12, 1897, San Francisco, California, was the son of an Iowa-born mother of Danish and Irish descent.
Oh, nice.
Father whose ancestry was Jewish. Both of his parents died of syphilis before he reached 2 years of age. Oh, man.
Damn it. Nelson was subsequently sent to live with his maternal grandmother, Jenny Nelson.
Jenny.
Which was a devout Pentecostal.
Oh, no.
Who raised him alongside her two younger children, Willis and Lillian. They were 10 and 8 years old.
His grandma had a kids that were 10 and 8?
10 and 8 years older.
Oh.
They were 10 and 8 years older than him, respectively.
Right.
Nelson exhibited self-loathing.
So they were still 12 and 14.
Right. Nelson exhibited self-loathing and other morbid behavior at a young age. He was expelled from the Agassiz Primary School in San Francisco at the age of 7. Around 10, he collided with a streetcar while riding his bicycle and remained unconscious for 6 days. There's that brain injury, boys.
Yeah, but he was clearly screwed before that.
That's right. Made it work.
They unlocked that other special thing.
After he awoke, Nelson's behavior became erratic. He suffered from frequent headaches and memory loss. Yeah, he's...
Well, described as a psychotic prodigy. Oh, jeez. Nelson exhibited increasingly bizarre, manic behaviors in his childhood, such as talking to invisible people, compulsively quoting biblical passages, and watching female family members undress.
Oh, wow.
His grandma, she noted occasions where Nelson would embark to school in freshly cleaned clothes and return home in rags, as though he had exchanged clothes with a homeless person.
He might have.
Nelson's strong religious upbringing remained a pervasive influence in his life, and he obsessively read the Book of Revelation as a teenager.
Ooh, not one of those.
Yeah.
The end is near. In his early teenage years, he began frequently going to brothels and bars in San Francisco. This was the Barbary Coast red light district that he was in. And he contracted a venereal disease.
Oh, no, not BD.
Oh. As he progressed through puberty, Nelson, he grew into a stocky, physically fit young man. He's a champion young man. He would sometimes entertain his family with his physical talents, such as walking on his hands or lifting heavy objects with his teeth. Good for you, bud.
Well, Nelson began his criminal activities at a young age, sentenced to 2 years in San Quentin State Prison, 1915, after breaking into a cabin in rural Plumas County, which he believed had been abandoned.
Oh, so...
He was paroled for this offense September 16, 1916, but was arrested again in Stockton March 9, 1917 for petty larceny.
Oh.
He then spent another 6 months incarcerated before being discharged, after which he was arrested in L.A. for burglary charges.
Oh, geez. Come on, guy.
After spending about another 5 months in L.A. County Jail, Nelson escaped.
So really nothing major there. Just
escaped from jail.
Well, I'm talking about his arrests. Nothing major so far. Just a couple thefts. And then he escaped jail. Sometime in late 1917, he enlisted in the United States military. How?
I don't know, man. It's 1917.
He wasn't wanted?
Apparently not.
But
they don't have a national system for that.
Right. This dude don't know what he wants to do. He enlisted in the U.S. military, but he deserted them after 6 weeks.
He's like, screw this.
Man, MIA. Or, it's not mission, it's AWOL.
Right.
He repeated this pattern on several occasions, enlisting in different military branches under different names before deserting them.
He's like, let's take a look at them all.
Wow. In 1918, Nelson was committed to the Napa State Mental Hospital after behaving oddly and erratically during one of his brief stints in the United States Navy. A Navy psychologist noted that Nelson...
Is he the first person to be a part of every military branch?
Ain't that crazy? Wow. Navy psychologist knows that Nelson was he was living in a constitutional psychotic state.
Jeez.
This dude is just always up.
Well, upon his arrival at the Napa State Mental Hospital, a psychologist who observed Nelson May 21st, 1918, noted that he did not appear violent, homicidal, or destructive. Well, you should lose your license.
Right.
William Pritchard, a psychiatrist who conducted a preliminary interview with him, he noted that Nelson spoke of hallucinations and other paranoid delusions. He has seen faces, heard music, and at times believed people were poisoning him. Voices sometimes whispered to him to kill himself.
Oh.
Says that if he were kept in jail, he would get something sharp and cut the veins in his wrists.
I mean, that probably would have been the best thing.
Right. Pritchard also indicated Nelson had experienced occipital headaches, fainted several times, and felt dizzy during their interactions.
No. Yeah, this guy should have never left a padded room.
Right.
Right. While he was in the old nut home, Nelson managed to escape at least 3 times before staff eventually stopped trying to locate him. His frequent escapes earned him the nickname Houdini among the hospital's employees. Nelson, he was formally discharged from the Navy in absentia, and that was on the 17th of May, 1919. And his file with the hospital was closed with a note indicating he had improved.
Oh, no.
That's a lie.
Well, Nelson subsequently acquired a job working as a janitor at St. Mary's Hospital using the pseudonym Evan Lewis Fowler. There, he met 60-year-old Mary Martin, an administrative worker. Well, they began to date and were married August 1919.
What?
Their marriage, however, as you would have guessed, was short-lived, as Nelson made her life a living hell with its jealous rages, bizarre sexual demands, religious delusions, and increasingly violent behavior, leading her to separate from him after only 6 months of cohabitating.
She was like, what is this? This is bad.
She's like, this is not the guy that I worked with.
Damn. She probably found all of his hospital paperwork.
Right.
It's like, this bad motherfucker is crazy. Martin would later recall various bizarre behaviors she witnessed while living with Nelson, which included protracted disappearances from their home and unusual bathing practices that entailed him pouring glasses of water over his toes. Maybe he had severe athlete's foot.
It burns.
That helped. On the 19th of May, 1921, Nelson, he posed as a plumber to enter the residence of 1519 Pacific Avenue, San Francisco. Then he attempted to molest a 12-year-old resident, Mary Summers, in the basement. What the Why would you let a plumber into your house, if especially if nothing's broke? Oh, okay.
Maybe it was.
You got a call log from
Maybe.
somewhere.
What is it? It's like 1921.
It's knocked on people's
Maybe they had,
door. Are your pipes working?
Maybe they had like routine, it's like a milkman coming every day or something. You got a routine plumbing check.
Right. Routine plumbing check.
His attempt was thwarted when she screamed and attracted help from her 9-year-old brother.
Oh.
Nelson fled, but was captured hours later while riding a trolley. At a competency hearing, he was deemed dangerous and recommitted to the Napa State Mental Hospital. Like, this guy again?
Right.
He would escape again on 2 occasions before being discharged from the institution in 1925. They don't want to deal with this dude.
Oh, my gosh.
And this is when it starts.
Wow. Just got worse from there. Nelson began his killing spree early 1926. His first known victim, Clara Newman, wealthy 60-year-old San Francisco landlady. Nelson entered her boarding house at 2037 Pierce Street on the 20th of February, 1926. He posed as a potential tenant named Roger Wilson. Sometime after entering the home, Nelson strangled Newman before raping her dead body, hid her corpse in a vacant apartment in the house as well. Second victim, 63-year-old Lauren Beal, strangled in her home in nearby San Jose on the 2nd of March. Damn.
Jeez.
This guy.
Well, the silken cord that had been used to strangle Beal had reportedly been wound so tightly around her neck that it embedded in her flesh.
Oh, my.
Nelson then strangled and raped 63-year-old Lillian St. Mary, also in San Francisco, June 26, 1926. Exactly 2 weeks later, 325 miles to the south in Santa Barbara, 53-year-old Ollie Russell was strangled with a cord in her boarding house. An autopsy confirmed that Russell had been sexually assaulted after death, and the similarities in the modus operandi between her murder and the San Francisco slayings led police to assume they were connected. Like, we got another one, boys.
Oh, man. What is it with California and their serial killers?
That whole West Coast.
Insane. It was the 16th of August. 52-year-old Mary Nisbet, an apartment building proprietor in Oakland. Guess what? She was found by her husband, strangled to death, raped in the bathroom of a vacant apartment. Initially, local law enforcement questioned Nisbet's husband in her death. Of
course they would.
Logic. But he was shortly cleared of the suspicion, like they would know anyway. These guys are so incompetent. This was a part of the bad time of the FBI and police departments. Wasn't this around the time that Bonnie and Clyde running around? Or was that in the 30s?
Bonnie and Clyde was in the 30s, but definitely beginning of Prohibition. They didn't do very well.
Right. Witnesses later told the Popo that they had seen a smiling stranger lurking outside Nisbet's apartment the day of her murder. Others who claimed to have seen Nelson at the various boarding houses described him to the police as a dark, stocky man with long arms and large hands. Because of this, newspapers began referring to him to Dark Strangler, or the Gorilla Man, or the Gorilla Killer.
Fall of 1926, Nelson relocated to Portland, where he raped and murdered 35-year-old landlady Betta Withers on October 19th. Her body, found by her teenage son, stuffed beneath clothing inside a steamer trunk in the attic of her home.
Jeez.
Following day, how the hell does he get it? Following day, 59-year-old Virginia Grant was murdered in a vacant property she owned on East 22nd Street. Her body hidden behind the home's basement furnace.
Oh, my.
October 21st, landlady Mabel Fluke disappeared from her home in Portland. Her body was then discovered several days later in the attic, strangled with a scarf.
Man.
How is he getting these ladies in the attic?
That's insane. Despite the subsequent similar murders of Grant and Fluke, the coroner's jury of 4 men and 3 women was appointed on 28th of October to evaluate the mysterious death of Withers. The jury's decision was split in half, with 3 believing her death was a suicide, and the other 3 believing it moita.
How do you strangle yourself with a scarf? It'd be physically impossible without hanging it from, like, the ceiling or something.
I don't even think that would work. Maybe. After committing the 3 moitas in Portland, Nelson briefly returned to San Fran. He raped again, and he murdered again 56-year-old widow Anna Edmonds on the 18th of November.
Jeez. Initially, police were hesitant to attribute that crime to the Dark Strangler. However, several days after the murder, a friend of Edmonds told police she had stopped by her home on the day of her murder and found Edmonds talking to a strange man in her parlor about a business deal that involved her selling her house. The woman's description of the unknown man matched those of the Dark Strangler.
Damn, this guy, now he's a freaking real estate. Following day, 19th of November, a nearby Burlingame, California, a 28-year-old pregnant woman attacked while showing her home to a man posing as a potential buyer again.
Well, he clearly has a modus operandi here. Right. Let's go seek out women. Why is it always women's that are the boarding house owners and shit like that?
Right.
It's weird.
Well, she survived the attack. First one, right? Described the man as being around 5'8", well-dressed, well-spoken. The woman later told reporters that though she didn't feel threatened initially, she realized in retrospect that peculiarly the man had commented on the home's intricate details, particularly the ceilings. I realize now that he was trying to get me to look up towards the ceiling so he could get behind me and grab my throat. That's what she said.
10 days later, November 29th, though, Nelson murdered and raped Blanche Myers in her Portland home. Went back to Portland, huh? Police were able to recover foreign fingerprints from Myers' iron bedpost. Portland murders ignited a public frenzy. The Oregonian, reported that the 3rd floor of the Portland Police Bureau had become a veritable madhouse.
Oh, shit.
With clerks taking hundreds of phone calls and reports of suspicious characters. Right. Of course, everybody that's suspicious now, dude.
Uh-huh. One local woman called the Popo, claiming that a suspicious man had stayed in her boarding house for several days after Thanksgiving holiday. Using the name Adrian Harris, 29th November, the day of Myers' murder, she stated that the man told her and other residents that he was leaving to take a train to Vancouver, Washington, and indicated that he would not be returning anytime soon or at all. She found this very suspicious, given that he had paid multiple days' worth of rent in advance. Before departing...
I mean, that would be pretty suspicious to me.
Right. Before departing, he gave her and another female boarder some jewelry as a gift, which were later confirmed by the police to have been owned by Florence Monks, a wealthy widow who had been murdered and raped in her Seattle home on the 23rd of November.
In hopes of preventing further murders, law enforcement in California and Oregon, they issued a public safety announcement to citizens. In the San Francisco Bay Area, elderly women were advised to take precautions while renting rooms and inviting strangers into their homes. Meanwhile, the Portland Police Bureau, they issued the following statement to the public. Do not show your houses or rooms for rent while alone. If necessary, call a policeman to accompany you.
Right.
Crimes such as these should be prevented and could have been prevented if women had been more careful. Damn, they're blaming the women. Oh, my.
Like, come on now.
You fucking idiots. What are you doing?
You guys want to vote? Well, that's
Right, suffrage, huh? I do not wish to unduly alarm the people of Portland. Just blame these stupid women. But there's no denying the situation is grave. Wow.
Wow.
Damn, that's like blaming a chick for getting raped because she wore a tube top or something.
Right. After leaving Portland in late November of 1926, Nelson, he moved east, hitchhiking or stowing away on trains. 23rd of December, the body of Elmira Berard, 41, found inside of her Council Bluffs, Iowa home. She had been garroted with a shirt initially. The local police presumed her death was a suicide.
These police are stupid. They've never seen suicides before?
Well,
you can't just... I don't think it's physically impossible to literally strangle yourself.
Well, she was just recently released from a psychiatric institution.
I'm going to get that, but...
Is
it physically... There's no way it could be physically possible to strangle yourself.
It's hard. This was dismissed after she was discovered to have been raped. But yeah, you can.
Well, she did that herself, too.
You could choke yourself until you pass out.
Right, I'm saying, you're not holding it until you're dead.
Right.
There's no way. And like I said, unless these shirts have her hanging from the freaking rafters or something, which I doubt it. Well, 2 days after Christmas, 23-year-old Bonnie Pace of Kansas City, Missouri, she was strangled to death and raped in her home. Her body discovered in an upstairs room by her husband. December 28th, Germania Harpin, age 28, along with her 8-month-old infant son, Robert, was found murdered in her Kansas City home. Both had been strangled, Robert with a diaper, and Germania had been raped after death. Both she and Robert were discovered by her husband when he returned from work. Jeez,
Son of a bitch. This guy, he's done enough now.
We gotta get this girl off the street.
You ain't kidding. Man, Nelson continued to move further east, murdering and raping as he went. 53-year-old landlady Mary McConnell was the next victim. That happened in Philadelphia, 27th of April. Several articles of jewelry were also stolen from McConnell's residence. The following day, Nelson attempted to sell one of McConnell's gold watches to the pawn shop owner, Mary Kuhn. But she was like, nah.
She probably knew who it was.
She's like, I can't take that. 1 month later, 27th of May.
Philadelphia, how big was Philadelphia back in the 20s?
Decent.
Probably big.
Right.
So, I mean, why would she decline? Because he looks sketchy, probably.
Right. 1 month later, on the 27th of May, Nelson arrived in Buffalo. He rented a room, 53-year-old Jenny Randolph, using the name Charles Harrison. Sounds like a Midwestern name.
Back in the
right
day,
there.
you could just get away with anything, dude. Like a name, you can call yourself anything. There's no credit checks. There's no freaking ID checks. 3 days later, Randolph, she was discovered strangled to death and raped. Her body stuffed under a bed in her home. Randolph's brother, Gideon Gillette, had met Mr. Harrison when he first arrived at the residence. Described as about 33, with a stocky build, dark complexion, and black hair slicked straight back. Fred Merritt, who was a boarder in Randolph's house, would later positively identify Nelson as Charles Harrison.
Oh, wow. All right, guys, does anybody talk to anybody around this country? Shit.
What the hell's going on here, dude?
1st of June in Detroit, Michigan, boarding house manager Fannie Mae, along with boarder Maureen Atorthy. They were discovered murdered in the boarding house that May oversaw. Their bodies, they were found in the building by the building owner, Leonard Sink, who had arrived to collect rent funds from May. Well, guess what? He ain't collecting no rent today, buddy. May had been garroted with an electrical cord cut from a table lamp.
Oh.
Police determined that the cord had been cut while the electric current was still circulating. Cool. He just didn't unplug it. And that the knife...
That's how it would be still circulating.
Right. And that the knife...
Oh, that must have had a nice little spark to it, huh?
Right. Had visible burns on the knife that he used to cut it.
Theoretically, the knife that was used would have had the burning. They don't know this yet because they don't have the weapon.
2 days later, Nelson murdered 27-year-old Mary Cecilia Sietsma.
I have a feeling that burning knife is going to play a role in this.
He did that in Chicago. Sietsma was discovered by her husband on the floor of their home, strangled with an appliance cord as well. Several articles of clothing were missing of the husband's, and that's all they found, I believe, was just the clothing.
Well, he's headed north, June 8, 1927, in Winnipeg.
Oh, going to Canada.
14-year-old Lola Cohen
bitch.
disappeared after leaving her home to sell artificial flowers door to door. June 10th, another local woman, Emily Patterson, went missing. She was discovered later that evening by her husband, raped and strangled to death under her son's bed.
Son of a bitch.
She had also been bludgeoned with a claw hammer. Oh, geez, now he's getting more violent. Patterson's husband discovered her body while kneeling at the bedside to say evening prayers.
Damn
What? I'm going to halt on that one. Why would he be saying evening prayers without his wife being there? And
Right,
why would he know where she was?
Was she a known, like, party girl at night or something?
I doubt she had a job.
Right.
It's fucking 20s. Women that have job in 20s.
Ah, bludgeon with a claw hammer. That's new.
Right.
And what happened to this Lola chick?
She disappeared and never found her, apparently.
No way. Upon investigation, the Popo determined that several items were missing from the Patterson home, including a whipcord suit, big, thick.
It's like the
bulky
classic 1970s dad like blazer jacket type deal.
Right. I like
made of plaid and shit. Yeah.
some thick ass shit. Mm-hmm. All right.
Sweating in that.
You ain't kidding. A whipcord suit, Patterson's gold wedding ring, the family Bible. Oh, he took the family Bible.
You can't take the family Bible.
Son of a bitch. And 70 Canadian dollars and $10 bills were stolen as well. A knife bearing burn marks and nicks was also left behind in the home.
Oh, no.
The police found the knife to be consistent with that which had cut the lamp cord used in the Fannie Mae and Artorthy murders in Detroit the prior week.
Oh, wow.
No shit.
Did he do that? There's no way he put it there. Right, dropped it out of his pocket or something, huh?
And where is this, in Chicago?
That's in Winnipeg.
Oh, wow. Oh, that's right, yeah.
The day after Patterson's murder, Fred England, a local jeweler in Winnipeg, unknowingly purchased Patterson's wedding ring from Nelson for $350 Canadian. And clothing stolen from the home was subsequently discovered for sale in a local secondhand store.
Fantastic.
Both the jeweler and the clothing store owner would positively identify Nelson as the man who provided them the ring and clothing.
No.
Nicholas Tabor, a barber who owned a shop next door to the secondhand store, he told police he had given a man resembling Nelson a shave, haircut, and massage on the afternoon of June 10th.
Look at that. Good for him.
Living his life, huh?
Right. He said while he was cutting his hair, he noticed dried blood on his scalp and scratch marks as well.
Oh.
When he inquired about them, the man reportedly became agitated and requested that Tabor not touch them.
Buddy, I'm cutting your hair.
Right. While performing a citywide search of the boarding houses in Winnipeg on 12th of June. So these Canadians ain't messing around. Police entered the boarding house of Mrs. August Hill on 133 Smith Street. And Nelson was recently lodged there. Upon a search of his room, the decaying nude corpse of Cowan was discovered under the bed. Oh, the girl, they found her. Son of a
in his own room. He's getting sloppy now. Cowan's body, unlike any of his other victims, had reportedly been mutilated in a manner reminiscent of Jack the Ripper, meaning everything was hanging out.
What a piece.
Her clothing and belongings were missing, and it was evident the bed had not been slept in, leading police to determine that he only used it to sleep with the body beneath the bed.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, gross.
This dude, holy shit. After the discovery of Cowan's body, Winnipeg City Council posted a $1,500 Canadian dollar $1,500 award for information leading to the conviction of the criminal degenerate, they call them.
Oh.
This reward would subsequently become a point of dispute after several individuals came forward with information pertaining to Nelson's whereabouts. Among them,
you can't say information, you gotta say and capture.
Among them was a motorist who claimed he'd given Nelson a ride from Emerson to Winnipeg on the day Cowan went missing. Okay? So you're responsible for this, motherfucker. You're going to jail.
Right. Well, assuming Nelson had fled the United States, Canadian police sent descriptions of him to all U.S. police stations and post offices. Why didn't the people in California do this, dude? Canadian, dude, you can't have the Canadians look better than us.
Right.
Jeez. In the intervening days, sightings of Nelson were reported, of course, in Regina, Saskatchewan, and Boissevain, Manitoba. A man matching Nelson's description, who gave his name as Mike Mowski, was arrested June 14th in the Manitoba, Minnesota border town of Warroad by customs officers, but he escaped the next day. How are they letting this guy happen?
This dude.
June 16th, 1927, constables in Killarney, a Manitoba border town, about 12 miles from the North Dakota border.
No.
They arrested a man named Virgil Wilson, who fit Nelson's description.
He liked that with last name Wilson.
I guess so. He also liked two first names as his name.
Right. The old Canuck said that his demeanor was reportedly so calm and cooperative that the constables assumed that they had the wrong individual. I'm sorry, sir. They're so nice.
Right.
Oh, I'm sorry, sir.
Like, Captain, there's no way this guy is the murderer. Look at him. He's so nice.
You're right. On your way.
What is this all about?
Sorry.
Sorry.
Wilson, quote unquote, Nelson, was incarcerated in the local jail. But guess what? He escaped. Nelson.
These are the most shittiest jails since Wild West times, dude.
Ain't kidding. Nelson made the mistake of trying to catch the same train that was transporting members of the Winnipeg police, and he was recaptured 12 hours after his initial escape. He was officially arrested again the next morning by an officer from Crystal City Police Department. He did that on the rail line about 47 miles east of Wacopa.
He was then taken to the Rupert Street Police Station in Winnipeg, where he was photographed, fingerprinted, measured, and prepared for identification lineup.
Okay.
Nearly 4,000 spectators awaited his arrival outside the station, hoping to glimpse the accused man. They don't know.
Right.
All this kind of stuff doesn't happen very often. Photographs of Nelson taken by Winnipeg police were shortly sent out to police departments throughout the U.S. This resulted in positive identifications from witnesses in Illinois and California, who claimed the man was the same unknown renter they had encounters with.
Uh-oh. Canadians are like, look at it. Oh, no, they got one over. That's why the United States has been so mad at Canada.
Right. Like, how dare they? How dare they send pictures of a guy we've been chasing?
How dare they do their job? No, he maintained that.
How dare they care about their constituents and the members of the public?
Although that Nelson, he maintained his identity as of Virgil Wilson. Fingerprints forwarded to Winnipeg from San Francisco. They identify him as Earle Nelson indeed.
Yeah, hot tip. If you're going to commit a bunch of murders and shit, don't have a prior arrest record.
Right. Nelson's fingerprints matched those left behind at several of the crime scenes. His teeth match marks found on victims.
Oh, he was a biter, huh?
Initially, Nelson admitted to his crimes, bluntly telling reporters, "I only do my lady killings on Saturday nights."
Oh, shit. Yeah, that's Saturday Night Fever.
Yeah. However, he would subsequently retract his statement, and he claimed he was innocent.
That makes sense for a brain-dead idiot. Well, upon an interview with the Manitoba Free Press shortly after his arrest, he said, "I'm charged with 2 murders, but I'm not the one who done it." When asked about the various persons in the United States and Canada who had positively identified him as a strangler, he simply responded, "All of them are wrong." Despite attempts on both U.S. and Canadian law enforcement agencies to elicit confessions, Nelson refused to admit to any of the murders of which he was suspected or accused.
At the time of his arrest, Nelson was wanted in 6 United States cities. Held to be tried. He was to be held to be tried in Manitoba court for the murders of both Cowan and Patterson. He was also charged with 2 counts of attempted molestation and 1 count of burglary.
Oh.
Nelson's trial scheduled to begin June 27, 1927, but it was postponed at the request of his attorney, and instead began on the 1st of November. And this happened at the Winnipeg Law Courts building. The case was prosecuted by R.B. Graham and overseen by Justice Andrew Dysart.
He was defended by court-appointed attorney. He was a defendant. Fuck you, dude. He was defended by court-appointed attorney James A. Stitt. Nelson's ex-wife, Mary Martin, testified against him, claiming he was absolutely insane. Additionally, over 60 individuals from both Canada and the United States testified, many placing Nelson at the scenes of the various crimes or linking him to property stolen from victims' homes. A jail guard who oversaw Nelson throughout his trial noted he'd become particularly obsessed with a certain biblical passage from the book of Proverbs, which read, "My son, give me thine heart, and let thine eyes observe my ways. For a whore is a deep ditch, and a strange woman is a narrow pit. So also lieth in wait as for a prey, and increaseth the transgressors among men." Is it saying his biblical passages tell him to kill some whores?
I think no.
And there weren't even whores. They were boarding whores. They were boarding whores. They were boarding house fucking.
Right.
What?
Wow. Closing statements in Nelson's trial were completed on the 5th of November, 1927. 40 minutes of deliberation. Jury said guilty, and he received a mandatory death sentence. Relatives of victims McConnell and Cowan visited Nelson in prison after his conviction, and he continued to proclaim his innocence. Late December 1927, Stitt submitted a 30-page document to Minister of Justice Ernest Lapointe, petitioning for clemency on the grounds that Nelson was insane and that his personal history had been unfairly presented to the jury via the press.
Hey, you got to keep a nice, fair trial, though.
Yeah, you got to, man.
Well, the eloquent, even moving document consisted of 20 affidavits from persons who had known Nelson throughout his life, who they swore were in a position to know full well the character and mentality of the said Earle Nelson, that they verily believed, without exaggeration or mental reservation, that he had been for a long period of time a person of unsound mind.
Right.
I mean, it's records.
Dude's insane.
In one of the affidavits, Mrs. L.J. Casey, who had employed Nelson as a groundskeeper in 1926, she said she heard him laughing and talking to himself all the time. One day, while I happened to be there, he sat right outside in the drenching rain, looking at the sky without a coat until he was soaked through. Despite the abundance of affidavit, the appeal was denied, and his execution was scheduled for the second Friday of January.
Oh, no. Damn, they're going quick.
He was indeed executed by hanging 7:30 a.m., January 13th, 1928, at the Vaughan Street Jail in Winnipeg. His final words were, "I forgive those who have wronged me."
Oh, you piece of shit. Damn. That's even more pissed off the United States. They didn't get to kill somebody.
Right. We're going to look at his modus operandi here, though.
Son of a bitch. Canadians work fast. Arrested, tried, dead.
Mm-hmm.
Damn.
Judge, jury, and executioner, baby. All in one. That's what it should be.
When Nelson's identity was still unknown, law enforcement surmised that Nelson was a predator who possessed a dual personality. They likened him to Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. However, his modus operandi was clear even to the investigators at the time of the crime's occurrences. Nelson's victims were mostly landladies who would approach on the pretext of renting a room. Many of these victims were targeted after having placed room for rent advertisements in local newspapers. Nelson, well-versed in Christian theology, often studied his worn-out Bible, using it to keep his victim at ease and off guard. So he just walked around carrying the Bible with him all the time?
That, or he probably
used a lot of the verses.
Once he had gained their trust and was able to access their homes, he would kill them, almost always by strangling, and sometimes engage in necrophilia with the corpse.
Damn it.
Nelson would often hide the body, leaving it under the nearest bed. Several of his murders, committed in Portland, he went to additional lengths to conceal the body, hiding it in the attic or in a steamer trunk within the house, right? Other victims were concealed in closets or behind furnaces, yes.
I think he was just playing around wherever he felt like, where do you want to find you?
We're going to stuff her, right? At the peak of his killing spree, Nelson was killing once every 3 weeks on average.
Damn.
His killing sometimes occurred in spurts. His last victim, Emily Patterson, had been his fifth victim in only 10 days.
Shit.
Oh, no, he was getting worse before he got killed because he bludgeoned her with a hammer and shit, dude.
This dude's
crazy.
Insane.
He was about to go through like some crazy shit if he would have just got away and kept going, dude. It was going to get bad.
Man.
There was probably going to be heads and body parts laying all over the place by the time he was done.
Though there were many documents regarding Nelson in his trial, few of them contained psychiatric information regarding his pathology. During Nelson's incarceration, why would you not have that? You got to know this dude was unconscious for 6 days because he had serious brain injury.
And he's only been admitted to a mental home by the Navy, for one.
Oh, my gosh.
There's nothing here or there for that.
Well, California allowed it.
Yeah.
Darren Nelson's incarceration leading up to his trial, he was examined by Dr. Elvin Mathers, chief of the psychiatric ward and Winnipeg General Hospital. He did that on 5 separate occasions between the 27th of July and the 24th of October in 1927. Based on these sessions, Mathers testified in court. I did not find any evidence that, to me, would constitute insanity.
All right. Nelson was the first serial murderer in American history whose crimes were subject to widespread media attention in newspapers, national magazines, and the then new medium of the radio.
Oh.
His crimes and trial received international media attention, appearing in newspapers across the United States, Canada, and Australia.
Damn.
Nelson's confirmed murder count, which exceeded 20, remained a record high for nearly 50 years until the discovery of Juan Corona. Yeah, we'll get to that guy. In 1971. Like we said earlier, Nelson is widely considered the first serial sex murderer in the 20th century America. And he won't be the last.
Won't be the last.
Yeah, that guy was fucked up, dude.
Yeah, this guy was rough.
Yeah, like I said, he was increasing. If he would have got caught, like I said, there would have been body parts laying everywhere.
How many bodies?
22 to 29.
22 to 29 victims. I'd say all of 29. California, Oregon, Washington, Iowa, Missouri, Pennsylvania, New York, Michigan, Illinois, and Manitoba is his reign of death. His trail of death. Oh, my God.
And it was just over 1 year from February 26th to June 27th.
Damn.
Yeah, he's a weirdo, psycho. Yeah, that's Earle Nelson. Crazy. Crazy. Next week, it might get a little crazy. Probably not, because it's the Mafia, and gosh, can't wait to get rid of this series. The Mafia, we're at it again with some more Lucchese members.
Well, you never know. Bonanno might be, not Bonanno.
Yeah, that's Columbo. Yeah, we got the Mafia next week, taking a look at more crime.
Who did we have last week, Tommy?
Bosses. We had Lucchese, Coco, and Tramunti.
That's right.
Next week, we're going to have Anthony Tony Ducks Corallo.
Tony Ducks.
And probably Vittorio. Well, we'll save him for last since he's the boss right now. Maybe we'll do some of his acting bosses if we can do a couple of these guys. But yeah, we only got like two actual bosses left. And then we'll get to, I don't know, maybe some of the under guys, but definitely got to get to Henry Hill and Jimmy Burke's story. Plus, we'll probably have a whole new thing, our whole episode on the Lufthansa heist.
Yeah, that was a good one.
That got them all the money. And then the one dude was going around buying fur coats and a new Cadillac. And guess what? Him and his wife got strangled to death in the back of, or in the front seat and left there, or shot in the head, one of the two. We'll see you then.
Yeah. And then,
Outlaws Gunslingers Mafia. We're the Mother Michiganders. We have.
Bang, bang.